Ever wonder what would happen if some of history's wackiest trends made a comeback? What about living in a world where strange trends are all the craze again? Felt it? Join us as we explore some of the most absurd historical trends that could use a revival. The hobble skirt. Think of trying to walk gracefully when your legs are bound together, and you can barely take a full step. Sounds like a challenge, right? Now think about doing that in the name of fashion. That's exactly what women in the early 20th century did when they embraced the infamous hobble skirt. French fashion icon Paul Poiret designed the hobble skirt in 1908, aiming to constrain women's movement and free them from restrictive corsets. The tight hemline forced women to take delicate steps, creating an amusing and dangerous waddle, making walking an adventure. Where did Poiret get this wild idea? Some believe it was inspired by the first woman to fly in an airplane who tied her skirt with a rope to prevent flapping. However, the trend faced challenges, as women struggled with everyday tasks like climbing stairs or boarding streetcars. Additionally, accidents occurred, such as one woman falling off a bridge and another trying to outrun a horse at a racetrack. Despite these challenges, the hobble skirt became a popular fashion statement. Luckily, World War I put an end to the hobble skirt craze, as practicality took precedence over fashion. But wouldn't it be something to see people today trying to navigate city streets in these skirts? Just think of the hilarious TikTok challenges that could come out of it. Human garden gnomes. Have you ever looked at your garden and thought, you know what would really complete this look? A live-in hermit? No? Well, you might have if you were a wealthy British landowner in the 18th century. Yes, back in the day, having a hermit living on your estate was the ultimate status symbol. These so-called ornamental hermits were real people who were hired to live in small, rustic cottages, also known as hermitages, on the property of the rich. Their job was simple: remain unkempt, avoid social interaction, and offer philosophical wisdom to any visitors who happened to wander by. It was like having your own personal garden sage, minus the grooming. Finding someone willing to live this life wasn't easy. Some estates even advertised for the position, but unsurprisingly, there weren't many takers. And when a human hermit couldn't be found, some landowners resorted to using mechanical dummies to play the part. Yes, even in the 18th century, automation was already creeping into the job market. The trend eventually faded, but the idea of having a live-in hermit on your property is oddly appealing, don't you think? It could be the perfect antidote to the hectic pace of modern life. Plus, who wouldn't want to come home to some deep, possibly incoherent life advice from a disheveled sage living in their backyard? The Macaroni Madness. You've probably heard the old nursery rhyme, Yankee Doodle. But did you know that the line about stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni isn't talking about pasta? No, it's actually referring to one of the most flamboyant fashion trends of the 18th century, the macaroni style. Now, let's set the scene. Young British men traveled across Europe on their grand tours, picking up all sorts of sophisticated tastes and styles. When they returned home, they were eager to show off their newfound fashion sense, which included enormous wigs, flashy outfits, and tiny hats perched on top of their heads. They called themselves macaronis, and they were the epitome of high fashion. But as with any trend that's a little too over the top, the macaroni style quickly became a target for ridicule. Their exaggerated appearance, with its bright colors and absurd accessories, made them easy pickings for satire. Still, for a brief moment, the macaronis were the trendsetters, proving that fashion really knows no limits. While the macaroni craze didn't last long, it's a reminder that fashion has always been about pushing boundaries, even if those boundaries sometimes include ridiculous wigs and hats. And honestly, in today's world of fast fashion, a little macaroni madness might be just what we need to shake things up. King Henry's codpiece. When it comes to bold fashion statements, few can rival King Henry VIII and his iconic codpiece. If you're scratching your head wondering what a codpiece is, let's clear that up. It's a padded pouch that was worn at the front of a man's trousers, designed to emphasize, well, a certain part of the male anatomy. While the codpiece was already popular in the 15th century, Henry VIII took it to the next level, making it a symbol of his masculinity and virility. His codpiece was so large and prominent that it became a key feature of his suits of armor, some of which are still on display at the Tower of London today. And yes, they even made it possible to activate a secret mechanism that would make the codpiece move when someone stepped on a particular spot. Talk about a fashion statement. The codpiece was more than just a show of power. It also had some rather curious beliefs attached to it. For instance, women believed that sticking pins in the leather lining of a codpiece would boost their fertility. It's a strange notion, but hey, people have believed in weirder things. Though the codpiece eventually fell out of favor, it left a lasting impression on the world of fashion. And while we might not see a resurgence of codpieces anytime soon, it's fun to imagine what the world would be like if they made a comeback. Just think of the fashion headlines. The curious case of the Alexandra Limp. Back in the 19th century, there was a fashion trend so bizarre that it actually involved faking a limp. Yes, you heard that right. Women were literally hobbling around, pretending they had an injury, all in the name of style. The trend of women walking with a limp originated from Alexandra of Denmark, the Princess of Wales, who embraced her limp after suffering from rheumatic fever. Her followers imitated her by faking their own limps, leading to women in London wearing different-sized shoes to achieve the look. Of course, not everyone was on board with this trend. Newspapers at the time ridiculed the practice, and the trend eventually faded. But for a brief moment, the Alexandra Limp was all the rage, proving that sometimes the strangest trends can catch on in the most unexpected ways. And that's a wrap on these absurd historical trends that once ruled the world. Who knows? Maybe we'll be reminiscing about today's trends with the same joy. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fascinating facts.